All right. We talked a little Alliance Hoops today with Chet Harper. We talked some West Branch Girls Hoops with Walt DeShields. Now it's time to bring in the head coach of the Perry Panthers, Matt Voll, kind enough to give us some time here on this Wednesday afternoon on the Sam Bourquin Show, 1310 WDPN. Coach Voll, first of all, thanks for coming on today, and how's your day going?
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Everything's going real well.
Good practice today?
Yeah, yep. We've been at it since Monday, and we don't play until the following Tuesday. But it's kind of like a lot of things you can come back and refine and adjust a little bit and tweak things and try to make things better.
Well, and it is that time of the year, and special thing happened a year ago, but you press on and you try to make some more memories with this group. You're coming in 10-12. You had a very respectable 7-5 in the Federal League. If you could, Coach, in a nutshell, what was this regular season like this year for you and the Panthers?
It was challenging. It was very challenging. The fact that we had a few guys that ran with us in the summer that didn't run with us in the winter. And you had just very few guys with a lot of varsity experience at all. We had two varsity starters that had injuries in the middle of the season, and that caused some issues. But our guys hung very tough, stayed the course, and I thought we were very competitive. Just didn't have a lot of depth, and battled as hard as we could. And moving into the tournament, not as banged up now, be able to get refreshed. I think that's going to help us here in our first tournament game.
Your last couple, you fall to a pretty decent Walsh team, pretty good Boardman team, Firestone a win before that, Lake a win before that, a couple of losses, a couple of wins. Is there a game or two that this year, Coach, that stands out, either a win or a loss, that maybe you learned a little bit about your club?
I think second half at Hoover, we were down 2 and they blew the doors off, and I think we took that and came back and won 3 in a row after that, and we lost XJ Woolheater at that time, and instead of really getting upset and mad at the kids, we kind of gave them some grace and really kind of built off of that. And I think in the middle of the season, that was a critical, point, just coming off the Jackson win, which was a huge win for the Perry Panthers. I think, winning at Glen Oak at the beginning of the year, I think that was the first time Perry's won at Glen Oak in maybe 14 years. And having a winning record in the Federal League in the first time since 2014. We did a lot of great things. And our last couple games, we didn't play up to our standard. We weren't real happy about that. But at the same time, we felt really good how our kids showed up every night in the Federal League.
No doubt about it. Matt Voll is our guest head coach of the Perry Panthers, joining us here on 1310 WDPN. Coach, we had you 1, 2, 3 times this year. Louisville, one of the Lake games and one of the McKinley games. And as I watched this kind of season unfold, you talked about the injuries and a little bit of adversity. Was there a point maybe in a practice, and I know this is kind of going a little deep here, but there's always a moment or two in practice that maybe you would say, or you would look at one of your assistant coaches and you'd have a quick conversation about something. Could you pick a moment or two out during the practice season this year where you thought, hey, forget about the record, I see good things, and if we can stay on any kind of a trajectory here, we could maybe we could get right by the time that the end of February rolls around?
Yeah, I mean, I think early on I thought our fight was really good, and I thought those guys came in, and anytime we would get on them after a tough loss, I thought they always responded the right way. So I always felt really good about those guys and how they responded in any tough situation. So there's definitely been a few practices where, you weren't sure how they're going to come back, and they've always come back the right way, the right mentality. And so I like our fight. I like how our kids have fought all season long. I don't know per se one instant specifically. I know early on when we started off 1-4, Nico Martelli had a shoulder injury, and he just finally came through about right before we played Dover, right after Fitch, and you could see it in practice. He went up and grabbed the ball and was able to, I'm like, okay, Nico's healthy.
Yep.
And once he got healthy, I felt a lot better.
No doubt about it. I want to go back to both Jackson games. Now, I know one was a win, one was a loss, but the fact that you beat them by, 15 the one time in the second game, everybody thought, oh, Jackson's going to be out for a rain. But 53-50, that goes overtime. And certainly I know a game you guys thought that you had a chance to win. That, to me, just as an outsider covering and broadcasting games, I thought that was a good sign for you.
It really was on the road at Jackson, and to battle and tie it up and get it an opportunity in overtime. We had the ball with, I think, 90 seconds left, and just fumbled it, and then they went down and hit that big three, with about 15 seconds left, and at the end of overtime. So that's what good programs do, good teams do, and there's enough of those definitely. And I think we caught Jackson at our place. I'm not going to take a credit away from our kids, but I think they had a couple guys that were sick that night. And we just hit them on the right time. And, when you play 22 games, it's a gauntlet, it's a grind, and everybody's coming at you. We're definitely, constantly trying to hunt those teams, because that's where, we started off in the bottom. And for us to finish fourth and be in the middle of the pack, we definitely want to be at the top. But it's we're constantly trying to hunt those teams, and the Hoovers, the Jacksons, the McKinleys, they've handled it very well over the years.
Perry Head Boys basketball coach Matt Voll is our guest here on 1310 WDPN. Panthers now will not play until the 3rd. They'll take on Twinsburg at 7 p.m. in tournament play. I want to go back to another little trifecta during the regular season. And this was another gauntlet that I kind of looked at, Coach. Back to back, Cheney, Maslin, McKinley. Now, you didn't get wins there, but that also was probably a stretch where your guys knew they were playing fierce competition. They had to go out and play hard, and I'm sure they learned some lessons there. Yeah,
and that was without two starters.
Right.
At that time, and for our kids to step up and battle like they did. Cheney's quick. They're as quick as anybody, and then Maslin was coming off of back to 100 points, 98 points, 96 points, and they had 24 on us in the fourth quarter. I mean, held them to 72, but that we were there with those guys and McKinley as well, until we run out of gas, and we know that we just don't have quite the depth that we needed at that point. And we're working really hard here at the end of the season to make sure that we have the practice time. We had 2 games a week since December, whatever, 20th or whenever. And so you just didn't have a lot of prep time for the next opponent. And so to be able to come back and kind of recalibrate here the last 2 weeks has been good. And the Boardman game at the end is really on me. We ran them so hard that week, and just felt like, our conditioning wasn't where it should be. And how coaches can go, and probably we definitely hit the wall, and I didn't sub enough and all that fun stuff. But so I take that one definitely on me. But our kids have fought all season long, and it didn't surprise me how they battled against the likes of Maslin and McKinley, and what the great seasons they've had this year.
All right, Coach, we're going to wipe that one off the board. So you're 10-11 now. Forget about that Boardman game. Never happened. Never happened. So we
I'll
all
take that one. I should definitely I should have walked. I should have walked.
You should have walked home.
I shouldn't even got on the bus.
Coach, don't get on the bus. You're walking.
They should have left me. They should have left me in Youngstown.
Hey, there's a lot of great pizza over there. You'd been all right. You'd have been fine.
Yeah.
Wedgwood, right around the corner.
Yep.
So we remember what happened a year ago, the magical ride, the fun, the memories, the packed field house, the trip to Dayton, it was incredible. How much do you draw on that as you go into the tournament, or is that kind of completely in the rearview mirror and this is all brand new starting over again? How do you treat that?
No, I think it's a process that you had, and you draw off the process that you went about your business during that run. And we know that, we in everything we do, we want to do it our very, very best. And at this point in the season, you know your stuff, and you just want to, whether it's pregame, whether it's warm up, whether it's pre-practice, we talk about all that, and just be at your very, very best. And I think at this point in the season, that's what that was the process that we talked about. And then I think the other thing that we always talked about is, it's, the tournament's awesome, and you definitely got to run to it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to run away from anything. Like, it doesn't matter who you play. It's 32 minutes, and you just got to win by 1 point. And so I think, the mentality is, finish like the way you wanted to start the season, and
right.
And, finish with a sprint. And at the end of the day, there's only one winner. There's only one team that finishes with undefeated in the tournament in your division. And so I think that mentality, is where we really try to work on with our guys as much as possible, is be your very best and, run to it. You can't hold back, and you gotta do it, at your very best. So, and that's just really the biggest thing that I've always kind of approached the tournament is, I tell my guys all the time is, you're either running to something or you're running away from it. And, when you sign up for this, and, this is something that we want to go after, and it's the best time of the year. It's what's the worst thing that can happen? You turn your stuff in the next day.
Right.
But what you don't want to do is sell yourself short on anything, and just finish it the way it's supposed to be finished, with a sprint to the finish line. And we were fortunate. We had some great moments last year, and we compounded, and took advantage of those opportunities, and found our way all the way to the state finals. And but that's just how the result ended. But those results are driven by the people.
Yep.
And the people are the ones involved in that process, and how you go about your business, and how you play, and how you work together. And I think that's the biggest thing is the people that are involved in the process, and they drive those results. And, our result, we don't know what it's going to be, but I can't wait to line up and figure it out. And let's see what, how this rolls. And I think that's something that I know I get very excited about.
Well, no doubt. This is a magic. It can always be a magical time of year. And, obviously there's, the names change, you're not Luke Wolf is not walking through that door, and there's a couple other ones that aren't, but there are some eerie similarities a little bit. You're coming in with a 2-game losing streak. You're hovering a little bit under 500, just like a year ago. There's always that wonder of will the slipper go back on the foot again? Would you want to play you right now, seeing at how this program has taken it up a notch the last couple of years?
No. I think we have a lot of fight. We have a lot of grit. We have a lot of toughness, and we're not going to stop. And I love that about our kids. And I think that's just who we become. And we got a lot of growth still left. There's no doubt. There's still a lot of growth. And we're trying to get better every day. Talent wise, we're not going to be the most talented team in the tournament by far. But at the same time, I think from a competitive endurance, I think our guys over the course of the season, with rested legs, with a healthy mind, with preparing just that one game, I like our chances. I really do. We should be healed up and keeping our guys more fresh than what they are in the regular season. And we don't play a lot of guys. Last year we didn't play a lot of guys. We go about one deep in the bench, and we're going to be very similar this year. Hopefully we got some younger guys, and just in case, like last year, we had to throw in a couple freshmen, a couple JV guys that, played. And, that might be the case again, if we're fortunate enough to make an extended run. But, Division II, it's a tough field. We're lined up against a team that's talented, Twinsburg, and feel good about the fact that we get to play home. But, and then after that, you could be seeing a Walsh Jesuit or a Brecksville, who's the number 1 seed in all Northeast Ohio. So, hopefully we get to that point and find out right away.
Well, you don't have to be the most talented. You just got to be the best at that night, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Correct.
Coach Matt Voll with the Perry Panthers. Always good to catch up with you, Coach. Appreciate your time, and have some great practices leading up to your tournament game, and let's go get it. What do you say?
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Sam.
You bet. Bob Voll. I did it again. Damn it. Matt Voll, the head basketball coach. I called him Bob the whole tournament last year. And I said, well, this is kind of working. I'll just keep doing that. No, Matt Voll, we appreciate your time here on 1310 WDPN.